Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the June 11th Transit Technical Advisory Committee. Let's go ahead and get started with introductions. I am Dana Trey with the Sonoma County Transportation and Climate Authorities, and I'll pass it over to David.
David Davenport, Principal Planner with the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District.
TCA.
How hard is it to start?
Yeah. Sounds like a hiccup, right?
Oh, man. It'll smooth out.
Yeah, there's like a practice period.
Yeah.
Kathleen Sullivan, Marine Transit.
Andrew Hound, Smart.
Owen Christopherson, Smart.
Stephen Schmitz, Sonoma County Transit.
Jared All, Petaluma Transit.
I'm Matthew Wilcox, Santa Rosa City Bus.
And then for folks online, let's go ahead and start with SCTCA staff.
Margot Cañas, Senior Transportation Planner, SCTCA.
I'm not sure if we heard you, Britt. Steph. Your audio might be out. But anyways, that's Steph Britt. And I'm Adam Garcia with SCTCA.
Thank you. And then let's go to Caltrans. Tyler?
Hi, Tyler Brown, Caltrans District 4, also known as Bay Area. And I'm in the transit branch and I'm the project manager for our Caltrans Bay Area Transit Plan. Thanks.
Yeah. And then let's go to Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm with Fair and Piers. I'm in our San Francisco office, and I've been working with SCTA, Rohnert Park, and Santa Rosa on the community-based transportation plans that we will discuss today.
Thank you. And Florence?
Yeah, I'm with Catherine. I'm working at Fair and Piers in the San Francisco office.
All right. Did I miss anyone?
Estes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great.
Thanks. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, let's move on to approval of the meeting notes from the May 14th meeting.
Motion approved.
Seconded.
All right, any opposed? All right, that passes. All right, moving on to our planning items. We have a presentation from Caltrans on the Bay Area Transit Plan. And when you're able to share your screen, Tyler, please go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. You should be able to do that. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for having me today. Happy to present. Again, my name is Tyler Brown, and I'm here in the Oakland office, which is Caltrans District 4 Bay Area. So we are the 9-county Bay Area for Caltrans, and I'm in the transit branch in basically our Office of Complete Streets, Transit and Active Transportation. And I'm going to be presenting today on our Caltrans Bay Area Transit Plan. So this transit plan kind of comes on the heels of successful other modal plans. We did a bike plan in 2018 and a pedestrian plan in 2021, and then have been working for the last 2 years on this transit plan. Obviously, transit is a little different than other modes. Caltrans doesn't operate our own transit other than we have a little bus that goes across the Bay Bridge for $1, but mostly we are not operating our own transit. So this has been kind of a new venture for us and an exciting one. The major tasks that were involved in this plan, public and stakeholder engagement, kind of an inventory of existing conditions, goals, objectives, and performance measures development, identification of transit needs, the creation of a transit best practices toolkit, and then putting it all together into a report. And I'll sort of emphasize that, for this plan, we're really focusing on our Caltrans right of way, what we call the state transportation network. So that's really the Caltrans roadway. Rail has been, we'll get into kind of how rail fits in, but it's really been focused on, how can we maximize Caltrans roadway for transit? And so that's what a lot of our sort of, guiding principles has been around. So public and stakeholder engagement, I apologize, I haven't been to this group earlier in the process. We kind of wrapped up a lot of the report already, but I'm glad to be here later rather than not at all. And we've had a fairly robust public and stakeholder engagement process. We have a technical advisory committee with all the county TAs, 10 different transit agencies representing large, medium, and small operators, and trying to focus on the ones that had the most operations on our Caltrans right of way. A lot of transit operators don't have any, or maybe we don't know about it as well as we should. We've also been engaged in kind of stakeholder coordination and presentations, going out to the MTC Transit Priority Working Group 5 times we presented to them, as well as having a public survey, kind of trying to release to all the transit agency contacts we have, although I know we don't always have the right contacts, developing a website, and doing public boots on the ground engagement at during Transit Month last year and at various other points as well. Kind of hearing from folks what they want to see from Caltrans in the world of transit. So we've also been developing this transit best practices toolkit in order to really provide we can't really provide, actual design guidance, but we can look towards best practices that especially already exist on the Caltrans right of way in or outside of our district. So a toolkit that, transit operators can hopefully utilize to say, okay, what are some things, Caltrans has already done? And also when we're, on our side, working with our engineers and developing projects on our side, we can kind of look to that as well. We've divided the toolkit into 2 sections, and that kind of guides some of the other parts of our transit plan, which is transit priority facilities, things essentially that move the bus more efficiently, faster on our roads. Things like dedicated transit lanes, TSP, Q-jump lanes, bus stop relocations. And just to emphasize, we're not suggesting bus stop relocations other than, with the support of a transit agency, but often you can optimize transit by relocating bus stops. So identifying opportunities to, improve operations. The second bucket we're calling transit access facilities. And those are things to make it more accessible to get to transit or more comfortable when you're waiting for transit, which can really, improve the transit experience. So, some of that is literal bus stops that are hard to reach, especially in our rural counties. And often in urban environments, it's more about pedestrian and bike safety, whether it's high visibility crosswalks, better sidewalks or bikeways, bus bulbs or islands, bus stop amenities at the bus stop, and wayfinding. So those are kind of the 2 big buckets. We are currently developing a transit needs assessment, and I'll get into the timeline a little more, but this is actually ongoing. The first draft that we developed, basically our plan timeline had kind of a grant funded hard end date. So we wrapped up everything except this, which we feel needs more iteration and coordination. So we will actually be releasing the second version of this in about a week, hopefully. The map you're seeing is actually not, don't try to squint your eyes and look too closely. That's actually the bike plan prioritized needs. So it'll be something similar where we're identifying locations on our right of way kind of to prioritize transit. And it's a bit project treatment agnostic. It's just saying something needs to happen here to improve access or to improve bus speeds. We're not suggesting specific types of projects at this point as a part of this process. So again, it's divided into transit priority and transit access. For transit priority, we're looking at transit frequency as a proxy for ridership and how much transit's happening here. Transit reliability, what's the speed variation? Is there kind of an issue with reliability here? Just speeds overall. You can be very reliable, but also not moving very quickly. And then we have an access to destinations score which is from our Caltrans equity score, which I don't know if I get into further. I don't think in this document, but we could talk about priority development areas, just for alignment with transit-oriented development, and then local priority, which is essentially we reached out to our county TAs and most of the transit agencies with significant routes on our road to get their highest priority segments, and that's a significant part of the score as well, because there's really no point in us putting in transit infrastructure where a transit agency isn't prioritizing it, doesn't want to have transit priority infrastructure. So that's a major part of the scoring methodology. For the transit access metrics, its frequency is just a proxy for how much ridership transit is there. A proximity to transit hubs, which are rail, mobility hub, or BRT stops. So just kind of a bonus bump for extra density of transit usage. The existence or lack thereof of bike ped infrastructure, which essentially we tapped our bike and ped plans to say where we prioritize the need for bike and ped around transit. Priority development areas, again local priority. Other strategies to support transit in District 4. Excuse me. We're really kind of improving and beefing up our transit branch to get much more involved in transit planning, project delivery, and we also identified some needs for kind of improved data collection and performance measures on our own behalf. So again, a major part of the process we've heard during this transit plan is the desire for transit agencies to have a better understanding of how Caltrans works and how more transparent and easy process for agencies to work with Caltrans. So both that includes both having transit branch staff involved in these processes. So you have kind of folks that are more familiar with these transit agencies and transit needs as a part of Caltrans projects, and also trying to improve and streamline the process. Also with SB 960, developing actual performance measures to have targets for transit priority improvements, things like that. Okay, so the timeline is, excuse me, as I noted earlier, we kind of wrapped up our main development of the transit plan in the spring of 2025. We have not, and our plan is to publish the report, which is everything except the transit needs assessment, sometime in June or July. We did public engagement in kind of March and April, and are just kind of remediating it for ADA accessibility and getting our website set up. But what's still ongoing, and which we'd love to get feedback on when it's ready, is our transit needs assessment, which we'll be continuing to develop this summer and as necessary into the fall, based on how much kind of revision and coordination we need as well. So that is my presentation. I've completely lost track of time, if I'm on time or over time or under time, but if anyone has any questions or wants to go back to a different slide, would love to hear from y'all if there's anything you're interested in hearing more about. These are the contacts that you can reach out to I'm the project manager again for this transit plan. We also have Sergio Ruiz, who's the office chief for transit and active transportation. And we have a transit email address, D4 Transit now at DOT. So I'll stop talking for now and see if there's any thoughts or questions.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Kathleen.
Thank you, Tyler. It's really good to see this. I was wondering how this is gonna flow down in implementation, because there's definitely still present day examples, several of transit agencies being brought in really late in the process when it's hard to influence the outcome of a project.
Yeah.
And so I was just wondering how this all looks great. Just wondering how it's actually going to flow down and be implemented at a project by project basis.
Sure. Well, the good news is it's kind of already being implemented. Unfortunately, projects that are later in their development already are still going to have that problem. But our transit branch is now kind of divided by roughly by county. So we have a representative for each county, and we're trying to get involved as early as possible. We've been involved in development of kind of identification of early SHOP 2028, involved in kind of pre-PID processes where we identify, okay, there's transit stops here, here, and here. You need to coordinate with the agencies. And so we've started to already kind of get involved in an early process and coordinate with transit agencies that are going to be involved in these projects so that we can avoid some of those issues, because we have seen that as well. Sometimes we're now, as we're getting involved now later in the process, sometimes we've identified issues where the transit agencies really needed to be brought in sooner. So hopefully that answers your question. I think we're going to be kind of pretty involved in early project delivery processes. So
Great.
Yeah, like the first step basically is a TIPSIS, and we as a branch, that's really before the project scope has been developed at all, and our transit branch just at the beginning identifies, are there any transit stops? Are there transit routes? Are there any kind of existing, plans from the agency? And that's something that I think we could improve, is making sure we have a holistic and robust actual list of projects from all the agencies. But currently we're scanning, websites and often talking directly to the transit agencies about if there are any plans for these corridors.
Great.
Steven.
Thanks, Tyler. Has a contact person for Sonoma County been identified yet?
Yes, I can send out. Sonoma County would be, I'm gonna have to double check on that because we just have a new staff member, and so we've been shuffling the responsibilities around. So I think that's going to be either Albert Hugh or a new person, Talia. But I can send that out to the group after this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Can you send Marin too?
Yeah. Sorry?
Can you send Marin too?
Marin? Sure. That's definitely going to be Albert Hugh. I probably should have invited them to this meeting, but we'll get them into the next one.
All right, any other questions or comments on the plan?
Are there any transit agencies here, because I tried to follow who was in the room and the admin, that have transit service on the Caltrans right of way that have not been connected at all to this transit plan? Because if so, I would like to hear. We just want to make sure we know all the agencies that actually are running service.
MTA probably.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Mendocino Transit Authority does run service on Highway 101 as well as 12 and 1.
And
Okay.
yeah.
Right. And so since they're not in the Bay Area or, run out of the Bay Area, they may not have been on the radar.
That's great. That's helpful.
Yeah. If you need a contact there, I'm happy to send you that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I think otherwise, Golden Gate and Sonoma County Transit, and I'm assuming Marin Transit have been on the TAC for this.
Yeah.
We're on the loop. Yep.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Tyler. That was a great presentation, and we will take a look out for that transit needs assessment and the contacts for the representatives for Sonoma and Marin County.
Great. Yeah, thank you. And thanks to all the agencies that have been patient with us as Caltrans is figuring out how to coordinate and support you all, because that's really what the transit branch is here to do, is, try to support transit, and that means supporting our partner agencies. So appreciate all the patience and knowledge that have been coming back to us as well.
Thank you.
All right, great.
All right, moving on to item 4.2. This is the community-based transportation plans for Sonoma County. We will be getting an update and a presentation from Steph.
Hello, good morning. Could I be allowed to share my screen, please? Excellent. Excellent. And you see the PowerPoint, not the notes, right?
Yep.
Excellent. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Steph Britt. I work for SCTCA, and we wanted to provide a status update on the community-based transportation plans for Rohnert Park and South Santa Rosa. This is a joint effort between SCTCA, Burn Peers, Leshner Planning, Latino Service Providers, and Cordova Planning, and also a lot of valuable feedback from City of Santa Rosa, transit providers, Rohnert Park, and our TAC committee. So we have finished our first phase of outreach and have a lot of good feedback that we're ready to share with you at this point. And so our agenda for today is we're going to go through a little bit about our engagement summaries, our approach to that, thanks to Fern Pierce and their subconsultants. Then we will discuss more specifically identified transit needs, and Fern Pierce staff is going to jump in at that point and give us a little more of a dive into the details about those transit needs, and we can discuss those. And finally, we'll go through next steps as we develop a long list of projects and phase 2 of engagement. So a little bit of recap. We are looking into 2 study areas, South Santa Rosa and Central Rohnert Park. These study areas were chosen through the Equity Priority Communities, or EPCs by MTC. Here we can see the study area for South Santa Rosa. And here we can see the study area for Central Rohnert Park. And as part of that, we're also looking into a Copeland Creek pedestrian overcrossing and getting a lot of community feedback on these projects. So for phase 1 of community engagement, we went out into the community, made sure to get everyone's valuable feedback. And to do this, we did focus groups and interviews, pop-up events, and joined existing meetings, with organizations or festivals, and made sure to get as much feedback as we could from the community within the study areas. For Rohnert Park, we had the following focus groups: Rohnert Park Cotati Regional Library, the Community Representatives Committee, Labatt Landing, the Creek Senior Apartments, and pop-up events. The 4 pop-up events are delineated here, and community presentations specifically to the Evergreen Elementary School PTA and Sonoma State Planning Practice and Methodology class. For Santa Rosa, we had focus group interviews. Thanks to Latino service providers, we met with their youth promotores, then did resident door knocking, interviews in the mobile home park, and also another community representative committee, with a lot of valuable feedback from a grassroots level. And we had pop-up events at Lola's Market, at a food pantry, the transit mall, and sports basement. This is the scope of the engagement. we had 96 survey respondents in Roanoke Park and 56 in Santa Rosa. We received the following number of map comments and quite a few attendees at all of our in-person events. And now we can look into some engagement summaries. In Roanoke Park, we had a lot of specific feedback, and all of the feedback was added into the map. For example, in Lawrence E. Jones Middle School, kids tend to run across Snyder Lane to access the bus. In Evergreen Elementary School, people asked about more rapid flashing beacons near the schools, better bike lanes, and additional trails so they feel more comfortable allowing children to bike to school. And they also had a comment about speed reduction methods on Emily Avenue outside of Evergreen Elementary School. And in Roanoke Park, we had 83 people complete the survey for that region. And these are their most used modes of transportation. In Santa Rosa, over half of the comments just really focused on Santa Rosa Avenue and not the whole scope of the study area. So it was pretty clear that the corridor is the main concern for the community in that area. And here we can see the main modes of transportation for these respondents are listed here in the graph. About 56 people completed the survey, and at this point I can pass it on to Catherine to really dive into the community identified needs for transit.
Hi, as I said earlier, I'm Catherine. I'm with Fair and Peers, but we just wanted to go through some of the projects that community members have identified and kind of see if there are ongoing activities that y'all are doing, like with mascots or as an agency that might already be looking at the projects we're mentioning, conflict with the projects we're mentioning, or anything, or any language tweaks we might need to make before we present these projects for prioritization to the community in round 2 of engagement. Okay, next slide, please. So for Roanoke Park, some general comments that people mentioned were wanting improved bus and train schedule coordination at SMART and Sonoma County Transit. And then for Sonoma County Transit, people asked for additional infographics and wayfinding and improved signage for the Golden Gate Transit and Sonoma County Transit park and rides at the Roanoke Park Expressway and US 101 interchange. People were also asking about increased service on SMART and a bus pass station or purchasing option at the library in Roanoke Park, and for real-time information at high ridership stops. Okay, next slide. So these are kind of location-specific comments that we got, and for the bus stop improvements like shade or real-time or anything like that, we will bring that back to the community members and have people kind of vote and rank what they would like to see where, but these are some that were already mentioned. So at SMART, people were asking for more bike storage, an overcrossing to get to the SMART station and the trail, and a pedestrian trail from the SMART station to the new Roanoke Park downtown area. A couple of these projects are more City of Roanoke Park projects, but I mentioned the ones that will impact or interact with like bus stops or station access or right-of-way. So another city one is looking at improving the bus stop at Commerce and Glen Manor, and this bus stop is adjacent to a pathway on Commerce, but doesn't have a great connection. So we would be looking at kind of connecting with that path, looking at other bus stop upgrades we could do here. And then for Sonoma County Transit, there were a couple requests for new stops. 2 of them were on existing routes. So this is a stop near Avram Avenue or at City Hall. And this is pretty close to existing stops, but there's not one located right at this location. Another one that's between 2 existing stops, but people specifically mentioned the destinations here, was the Kaiser Health and Petaluma Health amenities on State Farm Drive here that's on Route 14. In addition to these bus stop additions, people asked if there could be a route extension either for Sonoma County Route 14 or 12 to have a bus stop right near Evergreen Elementary on Emily Avenue. Okay, next slide. This is a full list of the projects that I showed on the map here, listed by lead agency and location. I'm not going to go through and read each of these, but we can definitely come back if people have questions about specific projects. Next slide. Thank you. And for Santa Rosa, there were a lot of comments about Route 3. Route 3 and 5 both run in the study area. For Route 5, there was less of a location specific comment, but people were asking for improved speed and reliability of Route 5. So that could maybe lead to things like stop consolidation or transit priority. And then another kind of larger project is people were asking for a transit connection across US 101 in the southern portion. This would likely be across Hearn Avenue, and might necessitate an additional route for Santa Rosa City Bus or an extension of a current route. Some other general feedback was improving the schedule coordination. And just like in Rohnert Park, people were asking for more bus stop amenities. Specifically, people were asking about shade, water, and real time. And so just people mentioned having difficulties knowing when the bus was going to arrive since there's not Wi-Fi at the stops. And also in some locations where they might be waiting a while, shade is a useful amenity to have. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide. So similar to Rohnert Park, we have one like city addition that will impact a bus stop. So people asked for a crosswalk to the bus stop at Santa Rosa Avenue and Flower Avenue. And the smart one, I mentioned we may not platform it as a project, but there's just community interest in having an additional smart stop at this location in Santa Rosa. And then near this number 3, I mentioned it on the project list, but people were requesting an additional stop outside the Lamplighter mobile homes here. People also wanted a stop inside the shopping center. So right now, this Route 5 stops. As you can see that tiny little blue dot here, but the shopping center goes all the way up to where those red dots are. So there were requests just to have a stop within the shopping center. And then also for Route 3, people were wondering if it could be extended to the Goodwill on Yolanda Avenue and also as far south as Todd Road. These 2 projects are ones we would specifically like to get feedback on just because it is asking a lot of one bus route to have it extend both all the way along Yolanda Avenue and all the way down to Todd Road. But yeah, we will also collect feedback on like which stations people most need shade, water, and real time at. Okay, those are all of the Santa Rosa location specific ones. So we did feedback at the transit mall, and some of the comments were about routes outside of the study area, so we will not be including those, but the more general ones that people mentioned were just improved coordination between the buses and the train, better transportation options to get between the transit mall and the downtown station. And then a specific note was improved coordination between Route 5 and Route 20. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the project list for Santa Rosa. There's a minor typo here where the second line, the location should say Santa Rosa Avenue and Ricardo Avenue, and that's the Lamplighter Mobile Homes location. But I just want to take a moment here, and I will provide my email in the chat for if anyone has any thoughts or comments. But we're mainly just wondering, like, do these projects make sense with what you're currently planning or with the way the schedules and the bus stops currently work? Are there any projects where you would like us to edit the language of how we platform them or that may not make sense at this time? And are there projects that we listed that you're currently working on, potentially through mascots or maybe another initiative that's ongoing that we should be aware of?
You want to know that right now?
Yeah.
On to- I'm
Um,
just wrapping up. Oh, sorry.
oh yeah, we can let Steph wrap up and then we'll come back to our discussion.
Yeah, sure. It's very brief. So for next steps, we're gonna launch phase 2 of outreach with the project list and just get as much feedback from the community. We'll have a transportation resource fair and get as much feedback as we can there on project prioritization. We'll do budgeting exercises and join existing meetings with the consultant team. And now I can do questions.
Maybe I can provide just a little bit of context. So in phase 2, we're going to be taking out a list of those project ideas that were sourced from the community. And as Catherine mentioned, we just really want to make sure, are you okay with, those going out as they're currently represented? Should we tweak those? Are there any that are absolutely just not feasible at all? So, if you could help us identify those, we'll have maps and lists that will be out in the community with and prioritizing for the next phase of the project. So, and I believe the list is in the agenda packet today. We can get Excel files and PDFs out separately if that would be helpful as well.
Yeah, I guess I can start if you're okay, Matt.
Go
Yeah.
for it.
So thanks for that presentation. I appreciate all the work put into this. I did print out the slides and I didn't get the slides that showed the deep dive into the project lists or the maps. So if you could send those back out, maybe I missed them or didn't print it out.
It's actually, we're not ready
They
when
weren't.
the agenda went out.
The
And-
presentations were different.
So yeah, there's an additional piece of the presentation that I could send out after
Okay,
the
thank you.
meeting.
For the, what is this? I think it's for the Rohnert Park, the engagement reach slide. It mentioned number of attendees, 107, then in plus 68 at overcrossing events. Is that related to the Copeland Creek? Is there a specific event for Copeland Creek overcrossing?
Yeah, we have a little extra scope for the Copeland Creek overcrossing project for Rohnert Park. So the concept there is to connect the pathway on the east side of 101 with the western side of 101 and the big shopping area and housing areas over there. So Rohnert Park's looked into that and done some scoping already, but they received some grant funding from MPC to do some additional outreach and talk with the community about their preferences. So we were able to kind of roll that work and with the community-based transportation plan work as well. So there were some specific events and outreach associated with that.
Got it. That's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm that.
Yep.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Moving over to the Rohnert Park survey slide, I was curious to note that there was no feedback or response about paratransit. So everybody that was surveyed, nobody said that they used paratransit, which was interesting to me. So was that correct?
Yeah, Steph, maybe you can weigh in. I didn't hear anything at the outreach events I was at, but maybe Catherine and Steph can weigh in on that.
Yeah, I didn't hear about a paratransit user.
So that's correct. That was 0. Yeah. Okay. Getting to Santa Rosa, the map feedback transit slide. I think what I can add and that through mascots, we've already implemented a new connection between SMART and the Santa Rosa Transit Mall via our Route 20. And we're looking into further making an additional connection on our Route 30 potentially between the Santa Rosa Transit Mall and the SMART station. So you might want to note those for your report, that those are already implemented or in the works.
I'm wondering if the connection to Route 5 is meant like had something to do with schedule coordination between Route 20 and Route 5?
Yeah, there was one of your slides that mentioned city bus coordination, better coordination between city bus 5 and 20. And you'll probably want to update that to indicate that 20 is Sonoma County Transit, just to clarify that. Let's see. There was no Sonoma County Transit feedback that I could tell or projects presented, although there's going to be a lot of shared bus stops that will work with Santa Rosa City Bus. This is in the Santa Rosa area, but I was curious that there was no public feedback on Sonoma County Transit service in the Santa Rosa area. It was primarily City Bus. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
For City Bus specifically, there was a comment about the Route 3 going to Goodwill. That would be redundant. Our Route 5 already serves that. And the 5 and the 3, they're the same corridor to a degree in various sections of Santa Rosa Avenue. So I feel like that could be not as lead to feedback that we would not implement, because our intent with a lot of our projects is to reduce redundancy within the system. Entering private property is usually a big no-go for us, like a non-starter. So entering the shopping center with transit service is probably something we would not do, just based off of the turns, the higher pedestrian level, speed bumps, things like that, that a regular transit vehicle doesn't have the capability of doing, or is a higher level of unsafe behavior from drivers, including what our drivers would be required to do. The Route 3 extension is already something we're thinking about. To Todd Road, we would require a large infrastructure project like a roundabout at that intersection, because we have no way of turning the vehicle around. But we have looked at going all the way to Rohnert Park to turn the vehicle around to come up the avenue. Something that we're investigating. And then you alluded to it, crossing 101 in that area. We've talked about it probably for the past 10 years. And it's all been predicated on the Hearn overcrossing being completed. So once that overcrossing is completed, we will start reevaluating plans to create an east-west connection in that area. But that obviously is very dependent on funding and things like that. But it would be good to know if that is a priority of the community.
When does that Hearn project get completed?
I hesitate to say.
So at this point, we are working on acceleration with the contractor July Construction to hopefully open up all 4 lanes of the project by Thanksgiving. We did have some one-way traffic closures last weekend, another one this weekend, and then there'll be a shift of both directions of traffic to the new overcrossing, and then demolition of the old overcrossing on the night of June 20th and 21st. So that we can start working on the other half of the overcrossing. So there'll be some overnight closures of 101 required for that. But yeah, as part of the grant applications we submitted with the city for the Hearn Avenue overcrossing, one of the big selling points was being able to potentially extend Route 15 over Hearn, providing service via Kiwanis Springs and Yolanda to provide access east-west for the shopping centers. So we're hoping that that will be able to be a thing the city's able to do in the future.
Good. And then my last comment would just be about connections between the Transit Mall and Smart. We have 15-minute service via various routes. So if the intent of a passenger is just to get between those 2 destinations, we don't really have the capacity to improve beyond that. So I would be curious to understand what the public is actually looking for, because that's high quality transit service between the 2 locations. So whether it's signage issue or just understanding where the stops are because they are not in front of the station but are very walkable and close, that would be of interest of us to better explain that the transit service already exists. at least within our regular service span. So maybe it's a span issue, but yeah, that would be a question that we would like to have more clarity on.
Yeah, my assumption is that it would be a signage issue there.
I just wanted to piggyback onto a comment that Matt made about east-west connection over Hearn Avenue. And we have a route right now, although it's primarily a north-south. Route 42 does provide a connection between or over the Hearn Avenue overcrossing between San Jose Avenue and the Corby area. So probably add that to your notes about that project.
Kathleen.
We have talked in mascots about some survey questions for mascots around Santa Rosa Avenue specifically, and about overlapping use of Santa Rosa City Bus and Sonoma County Transit. And I do wonder whether we could have the same survey questions. We've already talked about piggybacking on any agency outreach that anyone's already doing this summer to put in the mascots questions. So it could be as simple as, I don't know exactly what the integration looks like, but there are specifically the questions we're thinking about asking in Santa Rosa are specifically around Santa Rosa Avenue.
Yes, and I think that the next phase of engagement for the community-based transportation plans, where people will be reviewing the projects, will be overlapping with the mascots engagement periods. We just don't have the dates yet for those events that are planned. So I think that we could definitely think about the best way to survey people on that specific corridor. What we're trying to look for mascots.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out we are also asking specific questions in Marin County that are much more detailed than are going to be part of the general mascots outreach. So how exactly we package all of this and then how you integrate it at your events will have to be thoughtful about. But we're facing the same challenge in Marin, where you want them to understand it's kind of part of the effort, but there's separate. It's also super relevant to the CBTP.
Yeah.
Those particular questions. So
yeah,
more to
and
come on that.
I mean, maybe it's kind of getting a little bit more clarification on the recommendations that have already come out through this study on extending routes 3 and 5 further south. And then maybe a little more detail as well.
So few items, since we've been talking about Santa Rosa Avenue, my first question will be about something that's not Golden Gate Transit, which is, it would be interesting to know what specifically about Route 3 going to Todd Road versus the existing service onto 44 and 48 people are looking for, because it's the same alignment, right, between the Transit Mall and Santa Rosa Avenue. So it's the same fare, it's the same route. So what is it about Route 3 that they're looking for? Is it they're actually looking for more frequency, a different span of service? Because just the statement that it's Route 3, it's like, well, the 44 and 48 already go there. We're not in the practice of unnecessary duplication because we have limited financial resources. So it would be good to try to understand that better if we can.
A lot of it may just be the education side of that exact fact. People might not be aware.
Right. So two things for Golden Gate, which would be on the Roanoke Park section. I believe there was an item on the list about signage at Commerce and Roanoke Park Expressway. As part of the mascots plan, assuming we move forward with that, Golden Gate Transit will no longer be at that location. So I would maybe put a pin on that to double check. Because Golden Gate Transit would no longer apply to us. It would just be Sonoma County Transit at that point. And then I think there is a wayfinding item for the Roanoke Park Expressway Park and Ride. And maybe some more information around that would be helpful. It's a Caltrans facility, so anything really signage related beyond a bus stop sign and shelter. And we do have a real-time sign at the southbound stop, which is where people board. All of that would really be Caltrans and not Golden Gate Transit, because we don't own the facility. That's it from me.
Thank you.
A couple things from Smart. First of all, I just had a quick question. The overcrossing that was mentioned at Roanoke Park, was that the same overcrossing that you were talking about or a different one? And what was the location of that specifically, or what was the where was the identified need for that?
People mainly, this was partly for the Smart Trail and partly for the Smart Station. I think people just wanted maybe an additional crossing over the tracks. And I think something as simple as like a push button with gates, like it may not need to be an overcrossing, but I think people just wanted like a more protected pedestrian crossing to get to the station and to get to the trail.
And that I'm imagining that would be in between Roanoke Park Expressway and the trail to the south, is that right? Because we do have crossings.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Great, just want to clarify that. And just a quick comment about the for Santa Rosa, about the South Santa Rosa station. We understand that there is community desire for that station. Operationally, in the short and medium term future of Smart, that is an infeasible project for us, given the single track system that we operate and our kind of operational and headway constraints. And I would say, from a kind of community engagement perspective, it would be helpful to understand, what are the gaps or what are the identified needs around people in that neighborhood getting to the downtown Smart Station, and what are the potential local transit improvements that could be made around kind of access to that station, relative to versus kind of adding that new station. So just wanted to say that. And I also just wanted to echo Matt's comments about the coordination between the downtown Santa Rosa station and the Santa Rosa Transit Mall. There's a lot of transit service currently. There probably isn't a lot of ability to add even more. So just understanding the what are the community barriers to getting between those two places on transit? Is it stop locations? Is it real-time signage? And what can we do to improve that connection utilizing the pretty good transit service that we have already? And yeah, that's it from Smart.
Thanks, Evan. Chris.
Yeah, one quick thing I'd add is we heard a lot of positive comments as well as part of the outreach. People really appreciate the service and how courteous the drivers are and, their ability to get around. So it's not all we want this, there's a lot of appreciation as well. So I just wanted to note that.
I appreciate that.
Nice to hear.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. Thank you, Catherine and Steph and Chris. Yeah, and I will send out those slides with the projects after the meeting. All right, moving on to item number 5, transit integration updates. For the local bus operators in Sonoma County, continuing to work on website integration. We just approved a contract extension through the end of the year, but anticipate wrapping up those websites kind of late summer, early fall. Otherwise have been just very focused on mascots and other current funding issues. So yeah, I'll just open it up if there's any other comments on local coordination, and then we could go to regional meetings. All right, here none. Let's go to regional meeting report outs. Does anybody have any updates for the group on any regional meetings?
I will say that MTC yesterday released its first round of bus stop design guidelines in terms of signage. I thought it was an interesting presentation. And looking forward to having that finalized so we can start using that new standard. And my understanding is there's at least one route here in Sonoma County that will be part of the pilot installation. I think they had said that there was something in Sonoma County and something in Solano County, but I know that's been in flux, so.
Yeah, we were told 2 corridors with overlapping or with multiple operators.
Santa Rosa Avenue,
Yeah, I
Oh.
think we haven't heard.
Probably, yeah, it would make sense to be something.
They might
Nah.
have.
They didn't specifically say anything in that meeting yesterday about when, but when there was the initial discussion about corridors, Mendocino, Santa Rosa Avenue were mentioned.
Okay.
Since it has us and Sonoma County on both of them.
Right.
All right, thank you. Any other regional meeting updates?
I can take a stab at updating mascots, and maybe have you join in. So the finance committee met yesterday and the executive committee meets Thursday next week. The main things on the agenda.
It's
Sorry, tomorrow. Wow, came up quick. Should know that. It's already.
Yeah. You lost a week, Jared.
You're right. Yeah. Time flies. Tomorrow, committee is meeting, and the main things that we're talking about is finance, still trying to finalize the finance plan and the remaining funding gaps there that we're looking to identify and building those, that kind of structure. We're gonna talk about outreach that'll be kicking off this summer, including bringing it to the boards and committees of the respective agencies, starting in June, and then I think pretty much all of them going in July is the plan.
August.
Yeah, in
one
August.
Be in August.
Okay.
Yeah, there's generous.
Okay. And then also on the agenda, we're gonna be talking about kind of the discussion on cap and invest, the state budget and the changing transit financing component of that. Not quite as bad as it seemed a couple of weeks ago perhaps, but give an update on that. What I forget.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think ramping up for outreach is the big thing.
Yeah, everyone's starting to put together their list for outreach events to have those synergies we were talking about before of.
Yeah.
Of the outreach.
Oh, I just remembered, this has been so long since we've actually talked about it, but Transit 2050 Plus, our next project management team meeting, we will be discussing the draft network analysis, network performance analysis, I think, NPA. That's coming up soon. And that project is winding down this later this summer.
Is that identifying the priority transit network? Is that kind of rolled into that?
It's originally we wanted to do the network analysis before the specific project analysis, but it ended up getting flip-flopped because of the Plan Bay Area timeline.
Yeah.
So it's that analysis.
And then maybe the transit priority network is a little later, separate from Transit 2050 Plus.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah.
2050 plus, yes.
I'll have to keep track of.
Yeah.
I will say Clipper continues to slip.
Yeah.
And they're having a couple workshops tomorrow and the next day just to go over a detailed schedule with operators, but we are starting to plan internally for early 2026.
Wow.
Even more pessimistic than us.
Just going with pessimism and and hoping to be pleasantly surprised. There's a lot contingent on Clipper for us, as you know, and so it's sort of this slipping 1 month at a time is rough, hard to plan for. So for us, it was better to just say, you know what, we're just gonna assume it's gonna be a long delay, and then we can always move things up if possible, but.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, our challenge has been on the ferry side because the ticket vending machines, there isn't that cushion between C1 and C2.
Yeah.
And inventory is extremely difficult to get for those machines. So we've been putting a lot of pressure on them to resolve that issue.
Yeah.
And I did see Clipper announce today that they're continuing the START program, the low income fare program, and taking that from a pilot to an ongoing continuous program. So that's great news.
Will probably require council or board action for you.
Yeah, they're saying they're planning to release a new master funding agreement supplement that we'll have to sign, I'm sure, and bring to our boards. I know Golden Gate's already had our board approve it as a permanent program, so hopefully we won't have to go to the board again for the new agreement, but we'll see. Similar for us, yeah.
All right, great. Well then let's go ahead and move on to transit operator updates. We switch directions. Matt, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, not anything major for us for this month at least. We're trying to, well, our next service change should happen with the regional coordination in August. We don't plan on substantially changing our service just because of vehicle availability and funding and all the normal stuff that limits our ability to expand service. We're currently tracking towards 1.5 million rides for this fiscal year, so that's pretty exciting. Not pre-pandemic numbers for us, but you know, the upward trend is encouraging. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Jared.
So for Petaluma Transit, our March ridership was up 7% for fixed route and up 20% for paratransit, so that's good news. We received our first ever electric bus on Wednesday last week, so that's great news. It's one of 4 New Flyer buses that we're getting. So this was a 40-foot, of which we're getting 2, and then 2 35-foots. So hopefully we'll have those all by the end of the month. They come kind of staggered. And then also on the electrification side, our electric switchgear arrived earlier this week.
Oh,
That's
congratulations.
good news. That was the biggest time delay obstacle to that.
Yeah.
That project to upgrade our facility went out to bid last Thursday. We're hoping to have a start date of October 1st for that, and ideally have it wrapped up by the end of the year and everything figured out. We think we have an interim charging solution for our electric buses for the kind of 3 or 4 month period we have. We still have to wrap them, so they're not going to be on the road immediately. It'll take a couple months with that and training, but about a 3-month gap we anticipate. We think we have a solution in mind to charge them nearby. We're doing schedule changes starting on June 28th. We're increasing routes 2 and 11 to 15-minute headways during peak times. So that's 7 to 9 a.m. and that's 3 to 6 p.m. So we're excited about that.
One of them's a smart feeder, right?
Yeah, Route 2 is the main one that connects to the Smart North Station on North McDowell. And then Route 11 is our Washington corridor route that goes to the downtown Smart Station. So
That's another one we should mention in the mascots already implemented.
Yeah.
In the PowerPoint. I've
Yeah.
been writing out the talking point and I highlight the Route 20,
Yeah.
but.
absolutely. I maybe mentioned, let me know, I can give you language, and maybe in there is like impending. Now it's actually gonna happen. We have the date with it. So new schedule guides coming out soon,
What is the date? It's August?
June 28th.
Oh.
And then we'll be doing a fall change. I need to finalize the date on that a couple months later. Our Fare Free program has been extended. So it was a 1-year pilot program for FY25 that'll continue for at least 1 additional year in FY26. Intending to keep that going in perpetuity ideally. We're currently revamping our advertising policy, trying to get that program back up and running. We've generally shelved it due to bandwidth issues over the past year or so, the paid advertising program for the rear buses, bus shelters. So we're updating the policy, and we're probably going to be working with an external partner to help manage that program. So I don't know if any of the agencies, especially Sonoma County Transit City Bus, is interested. Let me know and we could have more discussions on that.
Let me know what, yeah.
Okay.
Because we do it internally right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll reach out to you. Website, I'm still working on the city website. Maria had been managing that, but I'm taking that item over. The layout of the website's pretty good. We have the bones of it. Now we just have to populate all the content of it over the next month or so. And then we're meeting with SCTCA later today to talk about the Petaluma Cycle 2 project list that we'll be bringing to our council in July in advance of the submittals for that. both on the transit side and the other city projects as well. And that's it.
I'm exhausted just listening to you. So Sonoma County Transit, try to make this quick, but we have schedule changes coming up on June 15th. A few minor reductions in trips, nothing big, but we're just trying to prep ourselves for riding out this reduction in sales tax revenues. We received two new we received two new used, wait, how do I say this? We received two used new flyers.
refurbished?
Yeah. Refurbished, great, okay. And they look great. I mean, for anybody that's never worked with CCW, we're really pleased, and it's really a nice alternative to not getting brand new buses if you're in a bind. I mean, a new EV bus is at 1.5 million, I think now, and you can get a pretty nice bus through CCW, at least a CNG bus for 150. And so 10% of the cost, and they look, I mean, there's even a new smell bus inside. I don't know if they spray something or what, but but it's pretty, you can see little dings every once here and there, but they're really good. They did a great job. So we're pleased with those. They're not in service yet. Probably by the end of June, beginning of July, we'll get those out in service. So that'll help us with our fleet until we get some more EVs on board. We're gonna have a couple more BYDs, 30-foot BYDs. We anticipate being delivered in September. Our charging facility has been on pause for the last few months due to a part that we needed to order that wasn't, but that's on its way. And we hope to get that back on track and probably open early fall, hopefully. One thing that I noticed over the last couple months, and I was curious, I think we talked to Rachel about this on the ridership end, is some of the routes that are heavily Hispanic in our service areas have seen a major reduction in ridership. So that really concerns us, and we think it's tied to, you know, what's going on the federal level. But it's just drastic, just really big, like 50% reduction in some of like our local Route 32 in Sonoma Valley. So I know that Marin County has a canal route that maybe is heavily Hispanic. And if you've noticed that in your area, or if you've noticed anything in Petaluma, and City Bus, I think, has noticed similar reductions.
We haven't seen as precipitous as that, but there's certainly been a drop in the Sebastopol Road area, which is probably our most heavily Hispanic concentration.
Anything you've noticed in Petaluma? No.
Nothing yet. We haven't really looked for that particular consideration on a route by route basis. With our network, we don't have a route, I would say, that's quite as identifiable with that.
Yeah,
kind of
that makes sense.
concern to the same extent, but yeah, I'll take a look.
In like the canal area?
We haven't seen anything dramatic
Okay.
yet,
Yep.
but yeah.
It happened in April and May, which coincides with this whole thing started.
Yeah.
Just an interesting note there.
Yeah.
So that's about it for me. Thank you.
All right, smart. See, ridership, last month we carried over 108,000 riders, which was an all-time record, 27% above last May and about 70% above pre-COVID. So we're very happy about that. We reached also for the first time over 4,000 riders, average weekday riders. So that's our highest ever average weekday ridership. And yeah, well on our way to our goal of the kind of 5,000 riders per day. Yeah, so it's all looking good. Windsor has been in service now since the 31st of May. And yeah, ridership has been pretty good. What's interesting is that we're really seeing that kind of bi-directional peak. So you know, a bump in the morning, but also quite a big boarding bump in the afternoon. So clearly we're seeing people coming to Windsor in the morning and leaving in the afternoon, as well as kind of the traditional directional peak. we have our Windsor Grand opening this Friday at 1:45 PM at the Windsor Station. Hope you all can make it. I won't spoil the pomp and circumstance too much, but I will say we will be breaking a ribbon with a train. So that'll be pretty good. If, in case you missed the news, we also got, or I should say we are in line to receive, since it still has to be formally approved by the CTC, $81 million grant. It was a combination of the Solutions for Congested Corridor as well as the local partnership competitive grants. So this will fully fund the Smart Healdsburg extension all the way to the northern border and of the city of Healdsburg. And finally, something that I personally have been working on a bit, it's kind of cool, and kind of relevant to some of what we were talking about earlier around a real-time and GTFS. We are integrating some of the partner agencies onto our real-time signs, so putting those GTFS feeds in there as well for our local transit connections. And I'm trying to do a really cool thing with Santa Rosa City Bus around this kind of transit mall connection where we're basically kind of route agnostic for all the routes that are going to the transit mall. And we're just saying, look, this is when they're all arriving and this is where to find them. So really try to emphasize the fact that there is a lot of good service there. Yeah, we'll be putting those up, I think, this week on the real-time sign. So if you're around and you see an issue with your agency or anything like that, yeah, feel free to let me know. Yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Thank you. Kathleen.
Let's see, Marin Transit, where did I write my little, we are procuring, we are continuing to move on our fare box transitions despite Clipper delays. We're procuring drop fare boxes. The RFP's out on the street right now. We are doing it jointly with Santa Cruz Metro. So we'll see how that process goes. We are continuing to work on our facility, wrapping up our environmental review. So we'll have an environmental document a bit later this summer that's out on the street. Although it's a pretty low, it's a, not a full EIR. We are also launching, I've mentioned this before, but a mobility wallet we're transitioning our taxi and TNC subsidy program for Marin Access to a mobility wallet, so a card. So we now have a little branded Marin Transit credit card, Marin Transit and Marin Access credit card. So that launches on July 1st. So we're ramping up for that. And then on the fares front, we are doing free use for summer again. So started in early June and goes till August, late August. And are going to take to our board what our fare free days are going to be for 2026 to FY26 in July.
Thank you.
And free fares to the county fair. We do that every year.
Great, thank you. All right, David.
Yes, so last excuse me. Last month I talked about our fare change on July 1st and our service change, which will be minor in nature on August 10th. Happy to answer any questions if you have them on those two items. In terms of ridership for the month of April, bridge traffic was up about 4% compared to April the previous year, but there was one more weekday, so really it's more flat than an increase. But it's good to not see a decrease, of course, because that is a major funding source for our transit service. On the bus side of things, for April, ridership was up 7% compared to the previous year's April, which was great to see. And ferry continues to overperform. It was up 21% compared to the previous April. And this Tuesday, so I guess yesterday, was the first sellout we've had on a Larkspur ferry trip since the pandemic. It's the 7:55 a.m. sometime around there. So do keep in mind that if you're, having connections from Smart or Marin Transit, and somebody's trying to get to that particular vessel crossing, at least on Tuesday in particular, but to some degree Wednesday and Thursday, there is a risk that they will not be able to board. So we are, of course, going to be working on messaging, encouraging people to take the trip before and the trip after, since we're not able to add a third boat to the route at this time. So, but it's good to see some that number increase. It's not a desirable situation, but in a sense, it is nice that it's something happening.
Yeah.
So.
How many people did they have to turn away?
I did not get a count of how many people were turned away. I was just told that we sold out. And it's I can't remember if I think we put the 450 passenger vessel on that trip because that's our largest catamaran. But the other ones are 400. So that would have meant we had 450 people plus however many left over. So.
You know, that increases certain types of riders like commuters, or it's just across the board with all types of riders?
That is it's your more traditional office commute type passenger that takes that particular trip on weekdays. There's, this year there has been a slight increase in return to office in San Francisco. Not substantial, but a little bit. So BART and Caltrain are also experiencing similar increases, at least midweek, particularly on Tuesdays. So I think that's it for updates from Golden Gate at this time. Yeah, I can answer questions on the fares or route changes if you have them, but they're pretty minor.
I will say, as a regular smart rider, I rode my fullest smart train ever, and it was a giant. It wasn't even the Time Giants ferry; it was the one before it, where like there was barely standing room only. I mean, we were like jammed in like sardines standing. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you have to push your way on it?
Well, there was a field trip of kids that got on as we got closer to Larkspur, and I was like, okay, that was just the tipping point where this is total chaos at this point. People trying to get bikes out past like hordes of children. Like,
We have to stack the kids and put them in a trench coat.
All right. Well, that takes us to other business comments and announcements. I think we have a couple from staff, one from David and Margot. So whoever wants to go first.
Thanks, Dana. And I think hopefully everyone got our email blast this morning, but we've launched our call for products for the SCTCA funding program cycle 2. There's about $100 million available through fiscal year 2030-31. And so we are looking to get the top 5 priority projects from each of the local bus operators and SMART, in addition to the city public works departments and the county. So as Jared mentioned, we're meeting with Paloma and another number of other agencies to talk about what projects they're considering, and we do have some consultant technical assistance available to help on our application, and all of the information is available on our website. That I'll turn over to you, Dana, in case you want to talk about any ideas for projects.
Thanks, David. Yeah, just wanted to mention because the mapping and wayfinding was brought up earlier, and the pilot project for Sonoma County on 2 corridors. There was a concept in the comprehensive transportation plan project list to expand that countywide. So if that is something that the bus operators want to bring forward as a project, that could definitely be a project that is put into the application bucket. All right, Margot.
Good morning. Great to hear all the news about transit, having taken the ferry a couple times last week and Marin Transit to go pick up my e-bike. Glad to be able to take advantage of all these resources. But I'm here to just announce that we have kicked off, or has been underway for a couple months now, the Lakeville Corridor Multimodal Study. We had received a Safe Streets for All grant fiscal year 23. One of the 4 tasks is in fact developing safety active transportation emphasizing treatments for the Lakeville corridor. We are partnering with the city of Petaluma and Caltrans The bounds of the project are from North Petaluma Boulevard down just past the 101 exit's called Browns Lane. I have included a link in the chat to the project page for Lakeville Corridor. I will share with Dana the PDF of a postcard that we are sending out to promote the survey to solicit input from all persons. As you may know, along Lakeville Corridor, there are several bus routes and a handful of important bus stops and the SMART station. So clearly would like to get input from transit riders about the experience in Lakeville Corridor, knowing that they're probably leaving those bus stops and wandering to other places, and hopefully it's done comfortably and invitingly. In addition to sharing with you the postcard with that QR code, that survey is accessible through the project page link that I did share with you. And for those of you that are in Petaluma and or considering visiting Petaluma for the fair on Saturday, June 21st, we will be hosting a pop-up table with large boards and lots of QR codes to encourage you to take the survey, but also boards to solicit your input on how to improve that experience along the corridor. So just updates on that. Please spread the news. I will reach out to Dana as well, perhaps with a bit of promotional content, that if you could forward some of that content through your communication channels on both the survey and if people are swinging by the pop-up, that would be great. I'll take questions or just leave it at that. That is my announcement. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Margo.
And the Petaluma Fair is June 19th to 22nd.
Correct. Thank you for clarifying. We will actually be there on Saturday, the 21st, from about 11 to 8. And we will be in what's called either the expo or the exhibit hall. So we will be indoors. So come look for us. Come say hi.
Right. Any other announcements? Okay, we can adjourn. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Did we ever get back to you about getting the video?
No, I never heard that. I'd love to get that.
I can't remember if I mentioned this last month, but we are recruiting for a senior.
So Charles is the guy
Anybody
that
looking for a
would be
senior
taking the lead
planner
on that.
position in transit.
Charles is in charge of that